Thank you for having this event and having me here today. I was born and raised in Arlington. I was born here in '72 at Arlington Memorial. Bob Cluck delivered me. I don't know if you remember him. I grew up on Little Road, where my parents still live today on Little Road, and near the old Jackson's Grocery that became Jambo's for a while. That's where I used to ride my bike down to play video games. Ditto Young and Martin were my schools. I graduated from Martin in 1990. I went down to the University of Texas. There's no Aggies or Sooners here, are there? Oh, cut me a break. My sister's an Aggie. Okay, good deal. You're a Longhorn, good deal. I went to undergrad there, met my wife in undergrad at UT. We both went to UT Law School, and I moved back here. She was a Houston girl. I talked into moving to Arlington. I was a district attorney for several years, prosecuting crime. But for the past 17 years, I've been a partner in a law firm called Harrison Steck, where I work on construction law matters. I help large construction companies that build schools, roads, shopping centers, libraries, hospitals. I negotiate their contracts. I work with subcontractors, and I litigate disputes that arise from those construction projects. So that's a little bit about my background. Oh, and I worked at Six Flags when I was a kid as a parking lot attendant, so that's important too. But anyway, for the past, why am I running? It's because I'm ready. In 2003, Ron Wright appointed me to the Citizens Budget Review Committee here in Arlington, so I studied the city's budget after the 2001 recession when we had to cut $20 million from the city budget. In the 2000s, from 2007 to 2011, I was a planning and zoning commissioner, where I studied land use issues intensively. Twice a month for 4 years, I came to City Hall, took my day off from work, and studied the issues and voted on land use issues. I've served on the recent Citizens Comprehensive Plan Rewrite Committee, where we had to talk about what Arlington is going to look like in 80 years. 80 years, think long term, and what kind of policies we needed to have to make sure this city is still as good for you in 80 years as it is today. Knock on wood, we're all still here. And then other than that, I also have served on the past 2 citizen bond committees, where I've had to go through the needs of the city when it comes to police and fire, where I've had to go through the needs of the city when it comes to roads, and study those issues, prioritize them, and bring you a bond package that doesn't increase taxes, but yet provides for essential elements for this to be a city where people will still come and buy houses and raise young families in. And I also served on the school district's last bond committee as well. My children, Elena is 15, she goes to Martin High School where I went. My other daughter, Laura, she goes to Young Junior High where I went. And we live in a house next to Rush Creek. And the reason why I got involved with all this is because my backyard flooded 3 times last year. And I needed to meet with the city to talk about that. And what is the most important thing that as I've been walking and knocking on doors in this community, it really boils down to 4 simple things, actually. Number 1, safety. The core function of city government is to keep you safe, all right? My sister, Misty, lived here all her life. Last year, her house was broken into in Arlington, and she said, "Andy, I'm sorry. I know you love Arlington, but I'm out. Arlington is no longer safe." And that broke my heart. It broke my mother's heart, because 3 grandkids moved away. So I'm very focused on what we need to do to increase public safety in Arlington. As far as short-term rentals go, that's important to y'all, because if Arlington isn't safe, somebody's not going to rent your short-term rentals, right? Okay? Second, what I really believe in is property values. And this is where partnership with short-term rental owners is really important. I've talked to people that have said, listen, the short-term rentals people bought a house down at the end of my street that was the ugliest, nastiest house in my neighborhood. They fixed it up. It's great. I love it. Private capital coming in to regenerate our housing stock is critical, because the city can't just write a big check and make every old house look nice, okay? That's not the way government works, all right? It shouldn't work that way, because who pays for that? You do, all right? So we have an incentive to have short-term rentals make capital investments in our properties to increase their marketability and make them look good and improve our neighborhoods. Next, taxes, okay? Andy talked a lot about taxes earlier. I'm a lifelong voting Republican. I'm very suspicious of taxes, all right? And one of the things that helps the city keep the tax rate low is when private businesses do well and put money into the coffers to fund police, to fund fire. So that way, you and your homes don't get an increase in taxes. So short-term rentals are actually part of the solution to that issue. Short-term rentals help people in their homes keep their taxes low. And then finally, helping small businesses stay active in Arlington. I have a friend I went to high school with. He and his wife became dentists, and they wanted to open a dentist office in Arlington. They spent 9 months arguing with the city about the sign outside of their office. And as a result, they almost didn't open here. Are we shutting down private investment that's critical to keeping taxes low on houses by increasing the regulatory burden on individual small business owners to a rate where people just run away from Arlington? I don't want it to be that way. And what's a critical thing I bring to the table? I know how to ask tough questions of city staff in a way where I don't look like a total jerk face and get the answers that I want. And I think if you talk to any of the city staff who worked with me when I was on planning and zoning, or who worked with me on any of the bond committees, I'll ask them tough questions. Being a city council person means you can't learn on the job. You already have to know that sometimes even city staff has an agenda. And you have to ask the right question and get them to go and do the work that you need to get the information you need to make the decision you want to make, not the one city staff is telling you you ought to make. Does that make sense? Okay? So, if I need to tell city staff when they come and say, 2B is the way we need to go, it looks good, I'm not going to just shut my binder and say, oh, the city manager said that, let's do that. I'm going to say, no. Go back. I want to know, because Jeremy told me last Wednesday and Thursday when we were in Austin together, talking to the legislature, that San Antonio has an ordinance I need to look at, right? And what that means is I want information from the city on how other cities have handled this. You're kind of in a unique time because short-term rentals are so new technologically wise, it's been a disruptor and the law is lagging behind it, okay? Law always lags behind technological advancement. VRBO, Airbnb is a new thing. And when I get an idea of how other cities are handling this, that gives me a base level to be able to talk intelligently with all of you about how we need to go forward. Now let's go to 2B. 2B is not going to work. You know, Senate Bill 1888 filed yesterday. We were talking to the legislators about it Wednesday and Thursday, Jeremy and I. And the state is going to regulate this issue and take the ban decision out of the hands of the people. And many of you also know that Grapevine tried a ban. And the first thing that happened was that there was a lawsuit filed that stayed the enactment of that ban. And that case is making its way through to the Texas Supreme Court, as has been discussed earlier here today. So you have actually several pathways that this issue is going to be handled by authorities that are greater than us, and ban is not going to be allowed, all right? So what does that mean? Regulation can be tricky, it can be damaging, it can oftentimes be bad. But people in their neighborhoods have a right to know that their property values will be protected by having a mechanism by which to enforce certain standards of decorum against the short-term rentals people who don't take care of their business. The people who are in this room, you guys care enough to take care of your business, okay? I'm not worried about you guys here. I'm worried about some guy in California that buys 10 houses in Arlington and really doesn't care about this community other than the money he takes out of it. So, we need to sit down with START. We need to have a realistic conversation with the people in neighborhoods who are concerned about short-term rentals. We need to sit here and go, if we're gonna, I got an email saying that short-term rentals bring sex offenders to Arlington. That kind of extreme lingo and language, I don't buy that, okay? I'm not interested in shouting at people. I'm not interested in panicky, extreme arguments. I'm interested in sitting down with each of you and the people who have concerns about your business and hashing out something that will work. And let me tell you what, it'll be enacted and there's going to be problems. So over the next 2 to 4 years, we're going to have a constant dialogue because we're going to have to tweak that ordinance because it's going to cause things to happen that you and I cannot even predict. One of the things I'm interested in is, y'all know the Ask Arlington app on your phone? How many of y'all have Ask Arlington app on your phone? It allows you to take pictures of potholes, send it to the city, and the city sends out a pothole crew like a few days later. 48 hours, yes. So what you can do is expand that platform to help neighborhoods that are worried about short-term rentals. A lot of times it's fear of the unknown. Say, listen, if there's a short-term rentals that's having issues, take a picture of the issue and send it to the city. And the city will be able to address it, hopefully that way. There's lots of different ways we can address issues relating to short-term rentals. Bans will not work, but hard work, making a solution, working together will. And I hope if you're voting in District 4 in West Arlington, which is roughly Arlington west of Matlock and Cooper, south of 30, north of 20, you'll consider me. And I look forward to having a conversation with you for many years to come.